1996, Nvidia was 30 days from bankruptcy. They had bet everything on a technology that was fundamentally wrong. Their first chip was a total disaster. Customers were returning it in droves. Investors had written them off. The entire company had exactly enough cash for one more payroll. This is the story of what happened next. The year was 1993. The World Wide Web had just been invented. Most personal computers couldn't display proper graphics. 3 engineers walked into a Denny's in East San Jose at 2 in the morning. Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem had just left a failing company and believed the future was three-dimensional graphics. On a paper napkin, over coffee and pancakes, they sketched a new kind of chip architecture. They called their company Nvidia, after the Latin word for envy. Their first product, the NV1, bet on quadratic texture mapping, a mathematically elegant technology that almost nobody else believed in. It would take 4 years to build. And it almost destroyed them. There was just one problem. While Nvidia was perfecting curved surfaces, the rest of the industry was choosing triangles. Microsoft was building DirectX, a new graphics standard that would define how every PC rendered three-dimensional images. They chose triangles. Flat, simple, and universal. Microsoft's DirectX standardized on triangle-based rendering, leaving Nvidia's quadratic architecture completely incompatible. The NV1 wasn't just failing. It was doomed. For years perfecting the wrong technology. Every dollar of venture capital was gone. The company had lost 99% of its value. Exactly enough cash remained for one more payroll. Jensen later said, "I felt like I was watching a car crash in slow motion." The crash was happening. And he was in the driver's seat. He had no backup plan. No new investor. No miracle on the horizon. Just a ticking clock and an impossible decision to make. Desperate for a lifeline, Nvidia signed a contract with Sega to build a graphics chip for their next game console. Sega was a giant. This deal was supposed to save Nvidia. 18 months in, the terrifying truth emerged: Sega's console needed triangle-based rendering. Nvidia was still building quadratic architecture. 2 impossible choices. Option 1, keep building a doomed product, lie to Sega, collect the milestone payments, and go bankrupt in 6 months when the truth came out. Option 2, admit the mistake immediately, Sega would cancel the contract and Nvidia would die next week. Jensen chose a third option. He did not fire anyone. He did not call the lawyers. He booked a 14-hour flight to Tokyo to meet Shoichiro Irimajiri, the CEO of Sega. 10 hours in the air to prepare for the meeting that would either save or obliterate his company. In a Tokyo boardroom, Jensen looked Irimajiri in the eye and said, "Our chip architecture is wrong. You should break our contract and partner with our competitor instead." The room went silent. Then came the most desperate pitch in tech history: "If you do not pay us the remaining $5 million, Nvidia is bankrupt by next week." Sega could have sued for breach of contract. They could have walked away. Instead, the CEO of Sega wrote the check. Because he saw something rare in the startup world: extreme technical honesty. A founder who told the truth even when the truth meant his own destruction. $5 million bought Nvidia exactly 6 months. Jensen gathered his engineers and made an announcement: abandon every line of code they had written. Every piece of technology built over 4 years. All of it. Start from zero. Engineers worked 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, in what Jensen called constructive desperation. In April 1997, the Riva 128 was born. A triangle-based graphics processor built from nothing in just 6 months. It shipped over 1 million units in its first 4 months. Nvidia went public in January 1999. The company that was dead 18 months earlier was now valued at over $600 million. And Sega? They sold their Nvidia stake for $15 million, a 3 times return on their impossible investment. Had they held those shares to today, they would be worth over $1 trillion. A $5 million check written against all logic could have been the most profitable investment in human history. The Riva 128 saved Nvidia. But what came next made it legendary. In 1999, Nvidia invented the graphics processing unit, the GPU, and changed computing forever. But Jensen saw something deeper that nobody else on Earth understood. He began pouring over $100 million a year into CUDA, a software layer that would allow graphics chips to process mathematical algorithms alongside visual rendering. For years, it looked like a catastrophic waste of money. Wall Street analysts demanded Jensen kill the project. Profit margins suffered. The stock price stalled. But Jensen held the line. He believed the future of computing was parallel processing. In 2012, a team of researchers at the University of Toronto used Nvidia GPUs to train a neural network that won the ImageNet competition by a landslide. The modern artificial intelligence revolution had begun. ChatGPT, self-driving cars, drug discovery, scientific breakthroughs. It all runs on the foundation that Jensen built, while everyone else was focused on the next quarterly report. Today, Nvidia's data center chips power the largest supercomputers on the planet. Every major AI company depends on their hardware. The gamble that almost bankrupted the company is now the most important technology on Earth. Nvidia's story is not just about microchips and market caps. It is a masterclass in how to survive a near-death experience. How many founders would admit their product was wrong and ask the customer to fire them? How many executives would bet $100 million a year on a technology 10 years before it made money? Jensen Huang still runs Nvidia as if it is always 30 days from bankruptcy. That paranoia is the engine. From a Denny's napkin to a $5 trillion empire. One desperate flight to Tokyo. One impossible ask. One executive who chose to believe. The difference between failure and world-changing success is often just one person who absolutely refuses to give up. If you made it this far, subscribe for more stories of the world's most extraordinary companies. And remember, sometimes the best investment is believing in someone who has the courage to tell the truth.